YouTube Ozick going. The Goat House is back with under the radar players that will make an impact for every single NFL team in the 2025 season. Some of you played along. I'm excited to break this down. Let's do it. My pick for the Patriots is going to be rookie defensive tackle Joshua Farmer. I thought it was an absolute steal where they got him in the draft, but because he slipped through, it feels like people forget about him a little bit, and people will take a look at the interior defensive line for the Patriots, the starters, right? You got Milton Williams, big free agency signing in. Christian Barmore is coming back. Those two are absolute studs, right? They could be stars together on that interior front, but you need a lot more options. There's a rotation. Many defensive tackles are going to play, so I'll tell you, Joshua Farmer is not only going to play a bit more than you think, he's going to make a bigger impact right away, possibly playing different alignments than pretty much everyone thinks. So I'd watch out for him kind of being a secret, big impact for the Patriots. A sleeper secret weapon pick, maybe my next pick, would be Christian Ellis, their linebacker. They didn't want the Raiders. They didn't want to let the Raiders get him. They really wanted him in Vegas, and I think at worst he's going to be a huge impact in special teams, but this new staff has a plan for him. He could actually make an impact as a starter or on defense at least for the Patriots, so that'd be another good option. And then we add next subscriber, a Patriots fan, play along here. Ian says, Robert Spillane he's saying, seems like people forgot they brought him in. That's kind of true. I thought he felt like he was a bigger name while he was on the Raiders. Now the Patriots had him, things got him, I should say. Things kind of got quiet a little bit. Jaheim Bell, he mentioned, it's a good one too. I didn't think of that. They could have a young tight end that's more of an athletic pass catcher step up. So that could be a guy to watch, kind of an under the radar guy that could be a playmaker for them. For the Dolphins, I'm going to go Ollie Gordon. Obviously, even though he's a rookie, he's kind of a bigger name, but you look at the Dolphins running back group, they have a number of guys. Obviously, Achane is the starter, but they drafted Jalen Wright last year. They have multiple options that could play, but Ollie Gordon, I've talked about it, around draft season, why this was such a perfect fit and pick for the Dolphins. Ollie Gordon, when he had a monster season for Oklahoma State, they ran a lot more outside zone, and they kind of went away from that. Well, Mike McDaniel and the Miami Dolphins run a lot of outside zone. So in terms of actually running the football, he's a great fit, and he's a fantastic pass protector, and he can run routes to catch the football as well. So it's a guy you almost feel like you have to use because of his skill set and what he brings to the table on running downs and passing downs. So I feel like he's not only going to play more than people think, he's going to make a bigger impact, even though he's almost technically trending down looking at 2 years ago, and then last year he's going to start trending up even his rookie year. And then Jalen Conyers, tight end from Texas Tech. I know they traded for Darren Waller, but it's pretty wide open over there in terms of tight ends, and this dude was a stud his whole career, former quarterback actually, but he played very well and was really tough after the catch as a tight end for Texas Tech, so he could be a sneaky option. The Dolphins feel like they can have anybody step in, and the system will get, that's why they traded Jonnu Smith, so that is a undrafted guy, super sneaky sleeper to watch for if he makes the team. For the Bills, I'm going to go with Ray Davis. And Ray Davis isn't this super top secret name, obviously. Everyone knew he was at Kentucky. They knew who he was when he had his moments with the Buffalo Bills last year. But I'm saying, I'm a big Ray Davis guy based on what I saw last year. I'm saying he is way better, and he's going to make way bigger of an impact this year than anyone thinks, because this guy could play, and it's just a matter of giving him more reps, and that was kind of shown last year. He always made a splash play when he's getting the ball, but he can run routes, catch the ball at a very high level as well. And then you have the James Cook situation. That's what everyone thinks. They got James Cook, who cares about everyone else, but this is a different type of back, and he's a very capable back. And then James Cook has that contract situation, which doesn't mean I'm saying Cook's not going to play for the Bills. Not saying that at all, but the Bills need to keep their options open. They got to see what they got in Ray Davis for now and the future, and the guy can straight play. So Ray Davis, way better than people think, going to make a bigger impact this year. And kind of a sneaky secret weapon to watch, a rookie corner, Dorian Strong from Virginia Tech. And all the time, I feel like it happens a bit where you see teams draft two of the same position, and somehow the guy picked a little later makes more of an impact than the guy picking earlier. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm not saying it's my prediction even, but for some reason, I could see something like that happening with Maxwell Harrison, Dorian Strong. Obviously, Harrison's better, a lot more upside. He's dealing with something off the field right now, a little more raw. I felt like Dorian Strong, in terms of day 3, was a guy, like a very safe pick. Like, he's a guy that kind of felt pro-ready as a corner, really physical, sticky in coverage. So it's a guy that I could actually see making an impact this year, even though he's depth for corner right now. And we had a Bills fan, Aiden Weingartner, play along. He went with Josh Palmer. Palmer has always shown flashes in the past and somewhat limited role in LA, but he will finally show what he's capable of in a more full-time role with Josh Allen this season. So yeah, they had to have Josh Palmer. They're trying to add more receivers, and he's a guy that really could take that next step and be more consistent. Yeah, like he said, he was kind of just a flash player before, so he can maybe have the best season of his career and make a much bigger impact than people think. For the Jets, I'm going to go with backup running back Isaiah Davis, second season in the NFL, coming out of small school, South Dakota State, so people really weren't giving him much of a chance. But the Jets' new staff, they've already said they're going to use multiple running backs, and I don't know if Breece Hall's really thrilled about the situation there. He kind of wants a contract extension. Who knows what's going on? There was some rumors that he could be dealt. So on top of them already going to use multiple backs, they have that situation. So I'd watch for Isaiah Davis. I'd even say Donovan Edwards could be even sneakier of one, the undrafted rookie from Michigan. They are going to use multiple backs, and Davis is one with some upsides. Sleeper, I'd say Tyler Barron, a later round draft pick from Miami. He was really solid at Tennessee, and they kind of had him in a hybrid role where he was a little versatile like chess piece. And then he went to Miami, and he had the most sacks he's ever had. He had double-digit sacks. So watching him on tape, I'm like, this guy can play. Like, there isn't anything super special about him, and that's why maybe he'll drop a little bit. But the guy can play, and we saw him in two different roles. And the Jets, they have a couple pass rushers. The depth isn't that great, but it's a totally different staff. They might, Will McDonald, who broke out last year, fit this scheme as much. I'd say he's going to be fine. He's a good enough ball player. But my point is there's questions there, and the staff needs one of their own. They picked Barron to kind of step up. So I think he'd be more of a key piece of that rotation for the Jets. So a couple young guys to watch. Eagles, I'm going to go with A.J. Dillon. Not talked about enough that the Eagles added A.J. Dillon, who is an underrated running back. He's been a stud. He's a physical workhorse type back. And I know they have Will Shipley. I like Dillon much better, even though they're two totally different type of backs. So, Eagles win the Super Bowl this year. They want to repeat. They know they can't every single year just have Barkley go all out with, X amount of carries every single game. So I think we'll see a bit, and we're going to see a lot of Barkley still, but I think we'll see a bit of A.J. Dillon, and it's kind of like a forgotten player. He's going to ball out with the Philadelphia Eagles. And they added a couple tight ends this offseason. It could be Bryant, but Kylan Granson's a guy that was kind of a raw prospect not too long ago, and it's a guy with a lot of upside, and they're kind of looking for, and the Eagles with that system, they'll use several tight ends throughout a game. They'll get their reps. It's not just Dallas Goedert, and they're looking for kind of the future guy to replace Dallas Goedert, already. So Kylan Granson could be a guy that they like, and that kind of hits his stride with a team that tends to do that with a lot of young players in the Philadelphia Eagles. The Commanders, you guys know I had to go with my guy, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. I've been saying, this is a guy that can make an impact year one, even as a 7th-round pick. And the Commanders could have someone step up. They need someone to step up as a running back. And right now he's down the depth chart, but I think as the year goes on, he's going to earn more and more of a role. And it's a little bold, but I think he could eventually be the running back one, be the best running back on the Washington Commanders. The guy is an electrifying runner, home run type guy, could break tackles, could make people miss. I'm excited about him, but he's a 7th-round pick, so no guarantee with him even making the roster. I'm very curious to see what he has this offseason, preseason leading up to the season. And then Dominique Hampton, second-year player from Washington, was a pretty solid safety for them. The Commanders, wondering, do we play him at linebacker, safety? Well, they can have someone step up at the safety position, and this kind of a battle on who could play there next to Quan Martin, but they also could be looking out for the near future at the linebacker position. So Hampton can kind of find his way on the field in multiple different ways, kind of a very sneaky sleeper under the radar guy there. For the Dallas Cowboys, I'll go second-year pass rusher Marshawn Kneeland. Was an interesting prospect coming out of Western Michigan. Had ideal traits that you look for, all about upside with him. And then you look at the Cowboys, they have Micah Parsons, and they actually have a long list of pass rushers to compete for the other spot. So Kneeland kind of gets forgotten about, and most people would probably say Fowler, plugs in, right there, and he definitely could, but he's been a little hot and cold in his career. They added Peyton Turner as well, other options, but and Ezeraku comes in there, but Kneeland is ready to explode, kind of a forgotten young name in there. I think he could end up being their second best pass rusher this year. And then a rookie, Jay Toyai from UCLA, and he's purely a run stuffer, and that's okay in this situation because that's exactly what the Cowboys need. They just need someone that can really help stop the run on early downs, so he can actually make as much of an impact as anyone on that roster doing that, believe it or not. So he could actually end up being a bigger impact than people think just based on his name. The Giants actually end up being the only team I used an offensive lineman for, and it was funny because we had a fan play along. Riley also used Marcus Bowe, and when you think secret weapon, you don't typically think offensive lineman, so I think that's the reason why I didn't really want to go too many offensive linemen. But Marcus Bowe is a weapon of an offensive lineman. He played very well for Purdue as a right tackle, but he has what his traits and his play style says he could be a guard or a center. So I could see him starting at right guard or center, and he can be the long-term right tackle because looking at the tape, I'm like, the guy plays right tackle at a pretty high level, so Illuminor is not going to be around forever. So you could see Bowe starting, and if he doesn't start, you can end up seeing him playing multiple positions, whether he starts or not this year. So that seems like a weapon at the offensive line position for right now and the future. And then I went Thomas Fidone, late round rookie from Nebraska, tight end. There are bigger names or more likely names to make an impact at the tight end position on the Giants roster, but I think it's pretty wide open. Fidone is a solid blocker, and he's a towering pass catcher as well, pretty tough after the catch. So I feel like this guy could end up being their best tight end. I'll be a little bold. I'm not saying that's like a firm prediction, but it wouldn't surprise me. And then again, Riley said Marcus Bowe for his New York Football Giants, really good prospect out of Purdue. Could see him taking over a right guard with a solid preseason to allow Greg Van Roten to play center. Yeah, or you can kind of flip that as well. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's I could see him having he could be like an Elgin Jenkins type career for Marcus Bowe, just a versatile weapon across the offensive line. So really excited about the Giants draft in general. I thought they had the best draft, before we get to see the guys in action. For the Ravens, I'm going to go to rookie linebacker Teddy Buchanan from California. I love that pick. I felt like a safe pick because Buchanan's just a solid football player with instincts and does everything pretty well. He stops the run. He's solid versus the pass. He's just not super flashy, so that's why he didn't go. And he's in a non-premium position, so that's why he didn't go super early. But, and then the Ravens, obviously, they have Roquan Smith for him to learn from. That's fantastic. They have Trenton Simpson, who is very, very flashy, needs to be a little more consistent, but I could end up seeing Buchanan playing just as much as him, maybe taking over. I know Simpson has a lot of upside. You want to see him reach that, but this is a guy that I feel is pretty pro. Look at that California defense. Those are pro-ready guys. That was actually a very, very solid defense, well-coached defense. A lot of mixture of coverages, unlike a lot of other college defenses. So these guys are ready for the NFL, despite people don't really realize it because it's California. But that defense is actually legit there. They had some ball players. So that's a linebacker I'd watch for. I don't think he's going to start week one, but if he did, I think he'd be solid. I think he'd be just fine. So kind of an under the radar one here. Jalen Armour Davis, who hasn't really worked out at corner for the Ravens. He's, a depth guy, but there's some talk about him moving to safety. And then you see a guy like Ardarius Washington already going down, and the depth isn't looking that great. And you're asking Malachi Starks, which he'll step up and start at safety, right? But you're asking a lot out of him as a rookie when the Ravens are a team that likes to rotate the secondary. So we can actually see him, Armour Davis, a guy who hasn't worked out yet, find his role this year. The Bengals, I'll go at rookie running back Taj Brooks. And he wasn't a super polarizing runner, even though he ran for a lot of yards. But you just got to love his blocking ability. And that is what is going to get him on the field, in my opinion, for the Bengals because, yeah, they have a number of other running backs that can play, but right away, Brooks might be the best pass-protecting running back, and for a very heavy passing attack, that's going to earn him reps, and that's going to make him become more of a weapon year one than people think. And I went with Tanner McLaughlin as another option. I really liked him out of Arizona. Really good route runner. He was injured in the pre-draft process last year, so that kind of disrupted everything. It made him drop a little bit, disrupted his rookie season. But they have so many damn options at tight end. It's a little tricky, but I feel like that guy can play, especially in this heavy passing attack offense. And then Bengals fan Brandon Wallner played along with Mike Gesicki. Lined him up all over the place. But yeah, that falls under the weapon category. Maybe people doubting him a little bit to continue to be successful because he's kind of been up and down in his career. So, Gesicki can continue to be that weapon. The Steelers, I'll go Juan Thornhill. I mean, he's got to revive his career. I think he can do that with the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team known for their defense, known for getting the most out of players. He played very well for the Chiefs, didn't play well for the Browns. I mean, Chiefs, really good organization. Browns, they had a decent defense, not so much lately. Steelers kind of back up there in terms of their defense, at least, on the Chiefs level, with how good of a team they are, how much they get out of players. So Juan Thornhill could break out and be more of a weapon than people think here. And it's funny because everyone, since the Jalen Ramsey trade, he's, like we said, he's probably going to play some safety, but when he's at corner, people are like, without Minkah Fitzpatrick, they are in trouble at safety, but nobody is mentioning Juan Thornhill. They signed him. The guy could still play, probably will play better for the Steelers than he did the Browns, so I think people sleeping on him a little too much. And then Ben Skoranek, I mean, the logic here isn't, the greatest. It's just I could see him being more of a weapon. When it just feels like an Aaron Rodgers type of receiver, like one of those random receivers that Rodgers has a connection with. Maybe some people out there could agree with me, but he's been around for a bit, made an impact with the Rams as well. But I think he could end up being a decent receiver for the Steelers. For the Browns, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, former first-round pick for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he's obviously right now on bust status, or nearing that at least. But, man, getting to go play with Myles Garrett is an opportunity. It's pretty wide open at that edge spot opposite of Myles Garrett. So he got drafted in the first for a reason. He has some upside here. Maybe he could reach it with the Cleveland Browns. So kind of a guy everyone gave up on, but watch for him this year. And then kind of a more of the under the radar guy, second-year receiver Jamari Thrash from Louisville. They need someone to step up as a depth receiver. Why not Thrash? Athletic separator, needs to catch the ball a little more consistently, but he could really take off here in year 2. The Lions, give me Roy Lopez. I feel like he's a very underrated player. He's a dominant run stuffer. That's what the Lions love. If you can stop the run, you are going to play football on the interior for the Detroit Lions, and he does it at a pretty solid level. So watch for him to be more of an impact with a really good fit. I mean, that's kind of home, a team that really values stopping the run. So it's a team that's really going to appreciate him. And I'll go more of an under-the-radar guy, a rookie, Miles Frazier. I loved him out of LSU. I feel like he could start for the Lions. People really aren't counting on it, but I could see, I'm not predicting it, but I could see it happening, or at least him playing this year and making an impact on the Detroit offensive line. For the Vikings, I'll go with free agency signing Rondale Moore, and that's what he is. He's a secret weapon. I mean, it's a guy that for situational football, he's going to come in and they're going to run some gadget plays with him. They're going to get him screen passes, and as good as the Vikings offense is, the passing attack is with those receivers, they really struggled on short yardage, not just with the run, but actually with the pass as well. Everybody's running these long developing routes, and then in the times they forced them not to, they tried to run a screen to Addison or Jefferson. It didn't look pretty. I don't know. So now you got a guy that specializes in that. He's going to, he's probably not going to rack up a ton of yards, but he's going to make some very important plays that the Vikings need this year. And a sleeper, I'll go Jay Ward. The Vikings safety depth is really thin. You have this, young safety that's ready to break out. He's not going to start, but I could see the Vikings rotate a lot of guys, and it's probably due to mainly a guy like Josh Metellus, where he can align in multiple different spots. You need kind of an extra safety to rotate in. So that's a guy that kind of can hit his stride this year. But really like Moore as a kind of a sneaky secret weapon for Minnesota. Packers, we went a couple of rookies. Warren Brinson I thought was an absolute steal. And you look at the Packers, at least in my opinion, going into this offseason, I thought they needed a defensive tackle. Like, they needed a better one. Like, they got guys that can play. They needed a better one. They lost Slayton, not a huge loss, but it just, you're through free agency. You're through most of the draft, and they still didn't get one. This is the guy that they got, Warren Brinson. I loved his tape for Georgia. It's a very safe pick, can play multiple alignments, stops the run, gets after, causes pressure. He's not going to get a bunch of sacks, but it's a guy that can just straight play, and he was a big-time recruit, played for one of the best defenses. He'll make an impact, even though he was kind of a sleeper, late pick for Green Bay. And Colin Oliver, a little bit of a tweener, because he was very productive off the edge for Oklahoma State, and he has more of the traits to play off-ball linebacker. But the Packers could use someone to step up at either spot, so we'll probably see him rotate in at either spot. And if he's at off-ball linebacker, he'll blitz, and he knows how to get after the quarterback. If he plays off the edge, he's honestly a little more consistent with getting after the quarterback than some of the guys currently on the Packers roster. So he's some young rookies that could actually make a bigger impact than you think as rotational guys. the Bears end up being one of my favorite ones for this video because the sneaky picks here. One went young corner from Minnesota, Terrell Smith, and I thought I was being really sneaky with that one, but ex-subscriber and Bears fan KEU picked Terrell Smith for it. That was his pick as well, but I'll break it down why I love it so much. It's Dennis Allen, their new defensive coordinator. That is why I like Terrell Smith for the Bears this year. And, you know, probably, maybe he doesn't start, not a name we heard a ton so far because the Bears have good corners, right? They have good young corners led by Jalen Johnson and then Tyreek Stevenson if he can be a little more consistent and figure it out. But what does Dennis Allen love? He loves corners that are really sticky in coverage because he likes running man, like feisty type corners, loves the blitz as corners as well. And that is exactly where Smith made his money in college at Minnesota. That's what he was best at. You can make a highlight tape of him just flying downhill, getting in the backfield, making plays. So Dennis Allen's going to have a plan for him. He's going to have a plan for him. We're going to see him in, situational football, but he's going to make some flashy big-time plays, in my opinion, and he could earn a starting job eventually as well, or maybe earlier rather than later. And then it went super deep with this secret sleeper, Ian Wheeler, who is a second-year small school running back. He looked really solid last year, training camp. I think they featured him on Hard Knocks as well, but preseason looked really good. He can fly. He's a super speedy running back. And then he got injured, and that disrupted, his rookie season. And the Bears, all offseason, since they got Ben Johnson, everyone's talking about they need a running back. They need a running back. We're still talking about it right now. And Ben Johnson likes to rotate those running backs, and we expect to see DeAndre Swift a bit, and we expect to see the rookie Monin guy from Rutgers. They have Roschon Johnson as well. Does he have enough juice? Does he have enough burst? Wheeler has that speed. He's a guy that might be out. And the Bears hesitate with adding a running back on this because I feel like they might still add a running back, whether it's a roster cut, somebody else cutting a guy, or them trading for a guy around that time as well. But it's a speedy running back that turned some heads at this time last year. So we'll see if he could do it again this year. For the Texans, I went with Cade Stover, young tight end, and it looks like Texans fan Big Ounce went with Cade Stover as well. He said ready to step up, has been playing with Stroud for a while, former tight end coach. That's a couple good points there. Played with Stroud, and then now the new offense coordinator is a former tight end coach. Those are some good points that I didn't even think of. But mainly my thinking was they need a tight end to step up. Dalton Schultz, it feels like still solid, but it feels like he's declining a little bit. CJ Stroud needs a tight end to step up, so why not a guy that's, he's supposed to step up. Young guy with upside. Now's his time. He's really tough tight end. So I think his playing time will increase, and then his play, his talent will increase as well. Super sneaky sleeper, late round pick, Keontae Hamilton. I like this tape a lot. I thought he could have got drafted a lot earlier, and a perfect situation for him is it felt like a former wrestler turned football player. It's a guy with a lot of upside, and a perfect situation for him because you go to a really good defense. You're playing around star players. You go to a really good defensive coach that's not only like an in-game good defensive coach, but really good at recognizing talent, developing talent. You also go to a team like they might need a defensive tackle to step up. So it's a really, really good opportunity. So Hamilton, a sneaky rookie to watch. The Colts ended up being one of my favorite ones for this video as well. Some sneaky picks. Jalen Carlies, under the radar name, second-year player from Missouri. He was a safety at Missouri, and his play style kind of said, NFL linebacker, and they converted him to linebacker going into the second year. Here he could end up being the starter and making a bigger impact than people think. And it kind of makes sense. Raw prospect, switching positions. It takes a little bit of time to get him going. Could be now. On top of that, the Colts felt like on paper they badly need a linebacker all offseason, just not adding another one. And then even Jermaine Pratt thought they would add him. They don't add him. So maybe they feel like they got something on their roster somewhere. So it could be this young player. And then a rookie, Justin Wally, just seemed to be all pre-draft process during the draft or the draft, just feels like an under-the-radar guy. Like I think most people thought he was a late-round corner. I thought where the Colts took him on day 2 made a lot of sense, and people kind of forget about him. Oh, he'll be depth, but I think he'll play a bit. This is a guy that could play on the outside and in the inside. They could use another starter depending on where Kenny Moore plays. Obviously, Ward's going to start on the outside, but Kenny Moore can play outside and inside, so that kind of creates, Wally being able to rotate in wherever Moore is not playing. So it's a rookie, playmaking rookie that can make a bit of more of an impact than people think. The Titans, another team that had some good ones here. I got to go Xavier Restrepo. Like, everyone knows his name. Everyone kind of rooting for him. They think he's better than what the NFL thinks. He goes undrafted because, yeah, he's strictly a slot receiver, a little undersized, but mainly he ran a poor 40. Not the fastest guy in the world, but the Titans drafted, well, first they have Calvin Ridley, and then they signed Tyler Lockett right around draft time, and they draft two receivers pretty close to each other. So then they get Restrepo undrafted, and that kind of leaves him with a lot of work to do. So I don't know if really anyone's expecting, he doesn't have huge expectations for him, but already hearing good things. I know it's super, super early, already hearing good things. He has the connection with Cam Ward. He's an easy plug and play at the slot receiver position. And they have guys, Lockett could play in the slot. He spent a lot of time outside, both throughout his career. DK could play in the slot, but do they have like a strict, firm, like slot, guys, a pure slot receiver that, it could be Restrepo, right? So I think he could end up being better than the two rookies they drafted. I really think that. And then a couple linebackers were options here, and we saw Gavin Mallard went with Jarvis Brownlee as well, which I liked him a lot out of Louisville a year ago, but I liked what I saw from him when he got the opportunity last year for the Titans. But James Williams, the other linebacker, I couldn't decide, do I want to mention Cedric Gray or James Williams, so I was glad he went with James Williams. James Williams is a safety turned linebacker, and it's pretty wide open next to Cody Barton, who's going to start at linebacker, and James Williams got some reps last year, and he's still learning the position, so he could really take off. Cedric Gray, though, this was a damn good linebacker his whole career at North Carolina. I loved his tape. It's a guy that can cover, and he can get downhill and rack up tackles pretty consistently. Very productive his whole career at North Carolina. I just felt like he was a sure thing to be good, but he had kind of a weird injury to start. Like, he barely got any rookie season. Like, even at this time of the year last year, like, he didn't get anything because, he was dealing with something. So, you got to remember, this is a good football player. He should be a good football player. So as long as he's healthy, this guy could end up starting and making an impact. So Titans had some good young options. The Jags, I want Mason Smith, second-year defensive tackle from LSU. I mean, this guy first stepped on the field after being a top recruit. Like, we're going, this guy is a future top draft pick. And that didn't work out because he needs to be a little more consistent. Obviously, it needed to be a little more consistent in the bigger games for LSU. Felt like he dominated the weaker competition, but it did not change that this guy he's a freak. He's built like a tank. He has elite defensive tackle traits. So the Jaguars drafted him last year, going into year two as a raw prospect with a ton of upside. Got to learn from some good defensive tackles. Armstead kind of declining a little bit. We're going to see a lot more playing time for Mason Smith, and he has freakish upside. So it's a name you cannot forget about for this year. And at Secret Sleeper, I went Johnny Munt. Was a decent depth tight end for Minnesota, but he was behind some solid tight ends, TJ Hawkinson, Josh Oliver. So it's a guy that could play when given the opportunity. And the Jags moved on from Evan Ingram. They made sure they signed Munt, who can fit Liam Cohen's offense. And, Brenton Strange is supposed to be their best tight end, but is that a sure thing? Like, most likely he will be, but he's definitely their best pass-catching tight end, but is he really like a firm Liam Cohen type tight end? We know Munt is, so he actually could end up being a little sneaky. And then BTJ season, I went with a few here. He had Mason Smith in there as well. Caleb Ransall, the rookie from Tulane, is a good pick because it felt like a guy they traded up for. They had to have him, and he's a guy that can play safety. He can play corner. He can play nickel. He's a downhill thumping type of defensive back. So he's going to be a bit of a weapon they can use different ways. De'Ami Brown and Tootin could be ones as well. Tootin getting some hype in the fantasy world recently. I just still think right now, I could be wrong, but I just think ETN and Bigsby are just better running backs, especially right now. But we'll see if those two are on the roster. I think they will be. We'll see what happens there at the running back position for Jacksonville. But the new staff did pick Tootin. They didn't pick the other two running backs, so we'll see. Buccaneers went with a couple rookies here. Jacob Parrish from Kansas State. It's a guy that can play outside and inside corner. He played outside until third down passing situations. They used him on the inside a bit at Kansas State, so they viewed him as very important. We're moving where we need him most in the right situations, kind of, Trent McDuffie situation with Kansas City. Play style is very similar. This dude's a dog. He's very sticky in coverage, gets downhill, hits. He's undersized, but you wouldn't know it by his play style. Buccaneers are going to use him. And I think with the other rookie, Benjamin Morrison, who's a more of a high-profile name, really, he's an outside corner. It's going to depend on what they do with Jamel Dean, like who's going to start at the other outside, opposite of McCollum. Parrish, they're just going to find ways to use. Like, he play in the slot, could play outside. He's going to find ways to get on the football field and make an impact. I was a really big fan of him as a prospect. And then Tez Johnson, slot receiver from Oregon, was super productive. He knows how to get separation from the slot. He's a really solid slot receiver. And the problem is the Buccaneers have a million receivers. They actually have a lot of slot receivers as well. But just hearing really good things about Tez Johnson, like if he just continues to impress, they're going to find ways to rotate those receivers, make sure guys are healthy for the playoffs, like Godwin. So that will give more reps to guys like Tez Johnson. So hearing good things. He can end up being a little bit more of an impact than people think. The Falcons, I'll go second-year defensive lineman Brandon Dorlus from Oregon. He is a little bit of a tweener. He can play off the edge or he can play defensive tackle 3 technique. I liked him a lot out of Oregon. I liked his tape a lot. I felt like he was more of a 3 technique than anything else, but could play all of the above. He was really instinctive, got his hands on the ball a lot, being able to read the quarterback and deflect the pass. We didn't really see him in his rookie year, but a better defensive coaching staff in there under Jeff Ulbrich, and that could get more out of players like this. And he's not going to start, but we're going to see him. I feel like he'll be used, and it kind of makes sense that a tweener type player doesn't really do anything right away. So I think it'll take a little bit of time, but it's a guy that can really get going. I like Dorlus as a prospect, so I'm still banking on him working out. And undrafted rookie Nick Nash is a secret sleeper here. I think he makes the roster, at least he should, but is a guy that can. I can't believe he didn't get drafted because he was super productive. He could high point the ball so well, but it's a guy that was productive when playing outside and playing in the slot. Just felt like a pro-ready guy. And the Falcons are one of those, most NFL offenses, they'll use 2 receiver sets most of the game. Some teams, you don't see them use 3 receivers. The Falcons are one of those offenses that you'll see a lot of, having 3 receivers out there at once. So that means they use receivers. They use their depth. They use their rotation, and they have good players. But the rotation is very important for that offense. And that type of offense, obviously. So Nick Nash could actually end up being something right away for Atlanta. The Saints, I'm going to go with young pass rusher from Notre Dame, Isaiah Foskey. I'm actually surprised we haven't seen really anything, more of Isaiah Foskey, because record-breaking pass rusher from Notre Dame, super consistent getting after the quarterback, have traits that you look for. Like, what's the problem right now? And they still have other options. That's the problem. They do have other options. That's been the problem at the edge position, and they still do. But man, Dennis Allen, that defense was their defense for so long, and now it's finally changing under Brandon Staley. And Staley typically runs more of a 3-4 defense, so it's a lot different than what the Saints have been running. So you could argue guys like, even though they're going to play still, guys like Cam Jordan, even Carl Granderson, like they're not non-fits, but they don't fit as well as they used to, where Foskey seems to be pretty scheme versatile. At least I thought he was, coming out of college, which was just a couple years ago. So the guy can play. It's kind of been proven this to be a surprise of if he couldn't figure it out somewhere in his career, it would be a big surprise. So it could be now with the scheme change, the coaching change there in New Orleans. They need someone else to step up. And a rookie, Jonas Sanker, big fan. Really fun safety. I just in Brandon Staley's defense, having that thumper type safety, a guy that can play in the box, get downhill, I just feel like he's going to get on the field. But this is a damn good special teamer as well, so he's going to make an impact in some way. I think he's got a bright future, with the Saints. Panthers, couple rookies like Trevor Etienne for them. That you felt like they didn't need a running back. They drafted Etienne for a reason. They felt like they needed him. I'm going to tell you why. It's because they have a couple good running backs. They have Chuba Hubbard and they have Rico Dowdle. These are good runners. I mean, especially Hubbard. These are really good runners of the football, but they're not the greatest pass catchers in the way. Especially Hubbard. Like, he's a little underwhelming as a pass catcher, and Etienne is a better pass catcher and a better route runner than both of them right now before he's even on the field. And it's something the Panthers haven't had, and he's actually a really good pass protector as well. So there are reasons to use Trevor Etienne. The Panthers, what is number one thing they want to do with this offense? Where do they want to get better? The passing game needs to be a little bit more explosive, and they kind of got that going later at the end of the year. They want to be more of a passing team. They don't want to be a run-first team, under Dave Canales with Bryce Young. They drafted Tetsuo McMillan. They have other weapons. So they want to pass more. There's reasons to use ETN. They're going to use him. And there might be, as time goes on, there might be more and more of a chance for him. So I think he'll actually play more than people think. And then Jimmy Horn Jr., yeah, it could be tough for him to get on the field because they have other good receivers. He's a solid slot receiver, and Adam Thielen, plays there. Thielen really doesn't feel like he's declining, but maybe his time's coming to an end with Carolina. We'll see. And it's a really good situation for Horn to learn from, behind him. But just hearing really good things already. It's very, very early, but from Jimmy Horn Jr., I think they can find ways to rotate him in. But I really like the ETN pick for Carolina. Chiefs, I had to go with the rookie running back, Brashard Smith, receiver turned running back, just a weapon. As like an every down back, like he's not that. Like you don't love him so much, for that role. He's a little undersized. He's more of a speedy weapon. You can run gadget plays too, but you can also give him carries. Obviously, he can handle that. He can go out for passes, so he's more than just a gadget guy, but he could be a very poor man's Devon Achane. He's not going to be as good as him, but I mean, what a perfect landing spot for him going to the Kansas City Chiefs. They love these speedy weapons, these unique weapons. They're going to find a way to use him. And the running back room is a little bit more wide open, even though they have a lot of options right now. Remember, they brought in Elijah Mitchell, but they're going to find ways to use him. And I'll go, a sneaky one, a guy that everyone kind of gave up on, and that's Felix Udike Uzama. Was a first-round pick, kind of nearing bust status, but now's the time for him to get going. I feel like he could reach his stride a little bit and make a little bit more noise. Chargers, another team I went with a couple rookies here. Kyle Kennard, edge rusher from South Carolina. Really productive getting after the quarterback. I love his burst, his get off the snap. Can't really coach that. He's got that. Earlier in the year, he looked like a first-round pick, and that kind of tailed off a little bit, and that's why he dropped. And, he needs to get a little stronger. He needs to get a little bit more of an impact versus the run, but it's okay. The Chargers, a good situation for him to land, and their depth isn't super great when it comes to edge. They're going to be fine, but I think he'd be a big part of that. And he'll be in for passing situations, and he'll get after the quarterback because that's what he does. And R.J. Mickens, I thought that was a steal with him. I think he's a guy that we could see play as a rotation safety. Can use him in different ways, back end in coverage or in the box, kind of rotate in for Alohi Gilman. It's definitely a possibility. But another reason I like to go rookies here for the Chargers, look at last year with that. It was a new staff last year, obviously the same staff this year. They drafted some guys, and mainly those corners with Still and Hart and Still. I mean, they end up being much more of an impact than people thought. They were kind of the secret weapons. So I think it could be rookies again for the LA Chargers here. So some solid rookies that could end up being steals to watch. Broncos, I went a rookie receiver, Pat Bryant. Just hearing Sean Payton talk about him, like he loves him. He compared him to Michael Thomas. It's a guy that he feels he can use outside and inside. Good physical contested catcher, but a really smart route runner. You can see he understands, he can read coverages, and that's the great thing about Pat Bryant, why I wanted to rank him a lot higher. But the 40 time was a problem, but the Broncos aren't worried about it at all. They need receivers to step up. They like to use a rotation, so all these guys are going to play, but he could be that guy that steps up. He's going to be an impact. Sean Payton loves him that much. He's going to be an impact. And then Drew Sanders, who people are kind of forgetting about a little bit, him coming out of Arkansas, is he an off-ball linebacker? Is he an edge rusher? Trying to find that home off-ball. He's not going to start, but you do worry about a guy like Dre Greenlaw with his injury concerns. So Sanders could be stepping up at some point and could be rotating in. Could be a blitz piece. It's definitely a possibility. Fennec, Broncos fan, played along. Jonah Ellis. Yeah, Jonah Ellis quietly had a very good rookie. Yeah, that's what he's saying. Like he. I think he had like 5.5 sacks, a little bit more. Like people don't talk about that, so it's a guy that could take that next step. Yeah, he needed more work as a run defender, so he's kind of right now a pass down specialist as well. So we'll see. And then he mentioned Benito probably doesn't get enough. Yeah, I don't know if he gets enough attention either. Like he's really good and a unique weapon for Denver. The Raiders, I feel like you have to go with J.J. Pegues. Talk about secret weapon as a guy that can make an impact at defensive tackle position, but that's what he was for Ole Miss, a secret weapon. You bring him in on offense, he can make a play, on gadget plays or short yardage or goal line. So, and Pegues, I thought was the Raiders' best overall value pick. That was a steal where they got him. They definitely needed depth at defensive tackle position, so we could see him play, make an impact as a D tackle. And again, he can come in for gadget plays. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with that, using the Raiders, using Pegues. We'll see. Maybe they don't do it, but using them like on gadget plays, because if it's like a short yardage and you need a yard for a first down or for a touchdown, and you're using Pegues instead of Ashton Jeanty, it's like, like if they don't get it, everyone's going to rip them. But it is a fun little weapon that Ole Miss got the most out of him there. So DeCamarion Richardson, a young corner that I think could actually end up starting or could at least step up. The Raiders are a little thin on quality corners, so one of these young guys going to have to step up. I think more people are thinking the rookie Darian Porter is going to be a starter. He's more trait-based. He has 1 year of playing. I think he needs a little more work, so it could be one of these other young guys that aren't rookies, like Richardson or Jacorian Bennett that end up stepping up a little bit. Couple of rookies for the Arizona Cardinals. Jordan Burks, the rookie from Oregon, who is an edge rusher, but we can see him play on that defensive line as well. I feel like he's a plug-and-play impact. Like he's a guy that can come in day one, even not necessarily a starter, and make an impact. He stops the run at a pretty high level. He gets after the quarterback. You wish he had a little more juice, but he's a physical guy, and for his size, he's pretty athletic. And the Cardinals now have kind of a long list of options that could play, but I think Burch is a safe bet where, like, if you play him, he's going to make an impact in multiple different alignments. And he's also had some time, like, on gadget plays on offense or special teams, so he could be a weapon in multiple different ways. I think he'll be a better rookie than people think. And then Cody Simon, really good blitzing linebacker, so situational football here. The Cardinals could rotate him in. He could eventually make his way into being a starter, but rotate him in and use him in some crucial situations where, again, he could really rack up the sacks off blitzes or at least pressures. So a couple rookies that can make an impact from that really good Cardinals draft class. Rams, I'll go with rookie linebacker Chris Paul Jr. The Rams badly needed a linebacker. They don't value it at all. I thought maybe they would a little bit more this year. They didn't. They waited all the way till day 3 to take a linebacker, but they got a pretty good one. I mean, he's just a little undersized, but he's super talented, super instinctive, good in coverage, and versus the run. He's probably the Rams' best linebacker, right? And they need someone just to play above average for them at that position, and then the whole defense could take that next step. So if Chris Paul does that, it could make the whole defense blossom, and it's going to shed some light on Chris Paul here. And then Emmanuel Forbes, the guy that everyone kind of gave up on. The Rams are really good developing, especially defensive talent, and they could use a corner to step up. They were the favorites to get Jalen Ramsey. That did not happen, obviously, and Jair Alexander went to the Ravens. Ramsey went to the Steelers, obviously. So they need a corner to step up. Forbes was a first-round pick for a reason. He can make plays. Just got to get a little bit more, physical, and maybe the Rams can get more out of him. Some rookies to watch for the Seattle Seahawks. Love this pick with Torrey Horton, their rookie receiver from Colorado State. If you look at the Seahawks receivers, obviously they have a star slot receiver in JSN. They've added some other guys, Cooper Kupp included. But if you look at those receivers, where are they best? They are best in the slot. Doesn't mean they can't play outside. Doesn't mean they won't. They'll play fairly well there. Cooper Kupp will if he's healthy. But where are they best? They are best in the slot. So who are their true outside receivers? I mean, they brought in MVS. Very, very, very realistically, Torrey Horton could be their best outside receiver this year. He's very underrated. He dropped a little bit maybe in the draft just because he was injured this past year, but he looked like a star 2 years ago. I think he's going to be very solid for Seattle. So that is a rookie receiver to watch. And then Damian Martinez, I don't want to go on Jalen Milroe because they could use Milroe on gadget plays, just run him. It's kind of obvious, though. It's really not super top secret, maybe. But Damian Martinez is a hell of a running back. Was at Oregon State and was at Miami. I know they have Kenneth Walker. They have Zach Charbonnet. Walker seems to miss some time here and there. I hope he doesn't because, again, if he's fully healthy, he's super talented. But chances are we're going to see a little bit of Martinez this year. I think he's fantastic. So I think he's going to play very, very well, and he can pass protect as well. So it's another reason to play him more and give him more reps. So it's a couple rookies that can make an impact for Seattle. And then for the 49ers, they go Nick Martin, rookie linebacker from Oklahoma State. It was a little bit of a surprise where they drafted him. Everyone kind of had him marked as a day 3 guy, especially coming off injury. But you look 2 years ago, he was really, really solid. And the 49ers, they know talent in general, but they know linebackers, and they want a guy that's going to replace Dre Greenlaw, and they feel like this is the guy. I feel like he's going to start. The Niners know something. They know something, so if he's healthy, I think he's going to be productive and make a bigger impact than really anyone could have imagined. And Corey Kiner, it's a little tough because they have a long list of running backs, but I love Corey Kiner's game. Just feels like a 49ers running back, another position the Niners know very, very well. But he was undrafted. They didn't draft him. They draft Jordan James, obviously. But Kiner is just so physical, and he explodes through the hole. I hope no one gets injured for San Francisco, but if they do, we could end up seeing guys like this get a chance, and all he needs is a chance. A really good, sneaky rookie running back there for San Francisco. But this video was a lot of fun. We do it every year, but I ended up doing 2 for every team because some teams are like, God, how do I not include him? So we got more for you guys. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe to Notifications on. A bunch of NFL content still rolling out, even more when we get to the season. So join us. It's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.